MediCrystals Co. is a supplier for a pharmaceutical called Cordon Pharma Switzerland. Throughout this semester, we have been introduced to control charts, which are graphs used to study how a process changes over time. There are different types of control charts, but on this project we are only focusing on the P chart, used to determine whether a fraction of defective items in a group of them is constant over time. Problem statement. The main industrial problem is that Cordon Pharma returns too many shipments of products that come from MediCrystals Co. That has caused shortages that Cordon Pharma is not able to satisfy the demand of the customers. The objective of the study is to determine if the production process is under statistical control or not. Methodology. These are the formulas that we use for the P chart. They are for the lower control limit, upper control limit, and central control limit.
Discussion. For our first step, we made the P charts for all three products that MediCrystal Co. makes. The first one was for the ampoules. So, as you can see in this graph in my left, there are many points that go outside of the lower control limit. This could be seen as something good since the proportion of non-completing articles is lower, but since it falls outside of either of the limits, it's not ideal, and so it must be perfected. Then we continue with the vial P graph. As you can see here in the graph, so all points fall comfortably inside of both limits. They are also very close to the central control limit, and as you can see, there is a big difference between the top points and the upper control limit. So this is a very good process, and it should be used as an example for all processes if they are not compliant. To finish, we go with the P graph of the syringes. So as you can see in this graph, there are many points that fall outside of both the upper and lower control limit. This indicates that it is a process, a manufacturing process that is outside of statistical control, and it should be intervened right away. It's imperative that it is changed right now. To finish, we decided to make a process capability procedure to evaluate the level of compliance of the process. For this, the first step was to make a Kolmogorov-Smirnov test to check if the population from which the sample is taken is normal. The procedure for the first part was to make these graphs and to check the p-value. Since our p-value was lower than our alpha, we had to reject our null hypothesis that states that the populations are normal. Since our populations are normal, we couldn't continue with the process capability procedure. Conclusion. Analyzing the graphs and the data they shown, we determined that MediCrystal Co. has its process outside of statistical control. Two of the three processes had many points outside of the limits, and this indicates some serious problem with the manufacturing process. The good news is that there is one process that has pretty good results, since most data points fall inside the limits. Our recommendation would be to closely study the correct process and use those practices to improve all the other processes so that the demand is met in all three products.